John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum is the third installment in this John Wick franchise. This John Wick franchise, so far anyway, has been a surprisingly really good one. When the first John Wick came out, everyone saw it's like, oh, it's an action movie starring Keanu Reeves. That's probably worth checking out. And everyone who walked out of it was like, holy shit, that was great. Much better than I thought it was going to be. And when you do see John Wick for the first time and you watch it and you see the world that we're kind of given an introduction towards, you watch and you're just like, this could lead to a potentially promising franchise. And so, you know, we got a sequel, John Wick Chapter 2, which, although I didn't think was as good as the first John Wick, I still thought was a great action movie. Keanu Reeves continued to crush it, and it gave us more of an exploration on the world that is in John Wick. The world that exists among these assassins, the mafia, these organizations. And of course, John Wick Chapter 2 ended with John Wick spilling blood on continental grounds, which is a big no-no. Now he's excommunicado. Now he is basically public enemy number one to the organization that he was once a part of. There's a 14 million bounty on his head, and now he's just on the run for his life. And now we have what is thankfully another great installment to what is now a great franchise. First of all, the way this movie opens up is just awesome. You have John Wick on the run. He's just about to go officially excommunicado, which means the $14 million bounty on his head will officially be live very soon. And right out the gate, he's just on the run with his dog. He's in a library, and this really big assassin dude is after him because he's heard about the bounty that's about to happen. He's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you now. Present to you as the bounty has gone live. I'll just say I killed you as the bounty went live, and I'm gonna collect 14 mil. Except the guy's forgetting, well, the assassin he has to bring down is John fucking Wick. It just leads to a really brutal hand-to-hand combat scene between the two of them. It eventually leads to John Wick literally killing the guy with a book. Just beats the guy upside the head with it, and then he just breaks his neck with like the spine of the book. It's insane. Like, you hear all the time about how John Wick killed 3 guys at a bar with a pencil. I'm just like, he just killed some really giant assassin with a book. I don't know what's more impressive. And then once the bounty officially goes live, he gets confronted by this big group of assassins. They're all coming after him, and it leads to what is safe to say probably one of the greatest knife fights I've ever seen in a movie. John Wick and these assassins are all cutting at each other, throwing the knives at one another, and John Wick is just, oh my god, he's one of the best badasses in modern movie history anyway, for sure. Just the way John Wick is taking these guys out, stabbing them in the eye, slitting their throats, just throwing everything at them, he doesn't miss. But what I love seeing about this action scene, and the ones that do go along, is you do buy John Wick's vulnerability. It's not like he's completely OP and just takes on these guys like they're nothing. People get a few good looks in with them. Like, you do feel at certain points that he's not completely above these people. As badass as he is, you know he's not invincible. You know there is a possibility that he could die. But after that, once again, we delve into more of what is in this world of crime organization that I honestly really appreciate. I love seeing more of what really is behind the scenes. In a way, it does have you stop and wondering, is this actually how the crime organization works? Do these assassins all have these rules, all have these sacred hotels that they all just gather in that nobody knows about? It's like next time you're staying at a Hilton or the Marriott or a Holiday Inn or whatever it might be, and you're in the lobby, you're just about to check into your room, and you see a lot of people around you who are dressed really nice, you're just gonna look around and be like, alright, how many of you are assassins? Anyways, he meets with this lady known as the director, and she grants him passage to Casablanca, which is supposed to be somewhere where John Wick believes he can meet with a member of the High Table to get his bounty lifted. Meanwhile, as John Wick makes his way to Casablanca, Ian McShane, who's basically the head of the hotel where John broke the rules on, he's met by an adjudicator from the High Table, and this person, she tells him, it's like, okay, so here's what's gonna go down. The hunt is on for John Wick, but at the same time, anyone who helped John Wick in any way, shape, or form stay alive as he went rogue, as he broke the rules, they're all gonna be punished. She tells Ian McShane, alright, because you helped John Wick, you are no longer the director of this hotel, you are gonna step down, what we're gonna do is we're gonna find someone to replace you, and now I'm gonna go around and take care of everybody else. So she meets with the lady who just gave John Wick passage to Casablanca, she has her throat slit, she is killed. She also meets with Lawrence Fishburne, you know, the guy who ran the pigeons, that's friends with John Wick, who's helped him along the way. She gives him 7 cuts. You think she killed him. I really like this character right here because you could really tell right away that she really means business when it comes to taking down John Wick. Because she knows John Wick being like the greatest hitman that ever lived. She's like, alright, it's not just enough to just go after him. We have to sever the ties from basically everyone who has helped him slightly. It's like you really have to leave John Wick with nobody that can help him, with nowhere to go. You want him to be at his most vulnerable. This adjudicator, though, she hasn't gotten rid of everyone who has helped John Wick. John Wick makes it to Casablanca and he meets an old friend, Halle Berry. And Halle Berry, I want to get into her right now. She was awesome. Like John Wick, she's a master assassin. What's awesome with her is she has 2 German shepherds that she uses to fight with. But as John Wick meets Halle Berry, he shows her a medallion which contained the blood oath that she had sworn to John, because I guess John Wick at some point down the line, he did a favor for her. Now she has to return the favor. You know, this was the driving force of the plot of John Wick Chapter 2. And John Wick simply wants Halle Berry to bring him to the elder that's in Casablanca so we can figure out how to get his bounty lifted. She can't bring him to this elder of the high table, but she can bring him to this assassin who works for that guy. He basically explains, alright, you're gonna have to go into a desert, walk until you can't walk anymore, and then the elder will just find you. And this assassin is payment for the information. He wants one of Halle Berry's dogs. She's like, no, you can't have my dog. He's like, alright, so then he shoots the dog. And what is with all these dogs dying in this franchise? Like, is this franchise trying to make me sad? It's like, it's not cool. Stop killing dogs. But then after that, it's John Wick, Halle Berry, and her remaining dog against all these assassins that were with this guy, and what happens is pretty fucking awesome. Because it's here, and it was also in the scene before, we really see just how badass Halle Berry is. She's basically like John Wick. She's beating these guys down. She's killing everyone with headshots. She straight up kneecaps the guy who killed her dog. Her dogs were really awesome too, because it's really cool just seeing how she's trained them to fight. She just sicks them onto all these assassins and they're just straight up killing them. So anyways, all that action goes down. It's awesome. It's fun. She brings John Wick to the desert. You know, her debt's now paid and now she just goes home. I will say that was one of the gripes that I did have with this movie. I wished Halle Berry was in more of it because her character was really awesome and her dogs were really awesome. I wanted to see more of that. I was hoping she'd at least be in like the final action scene or something. Spoiler alert inside my spoiler review, she's not. But anyway, John Wick finally meets with this elder, and he finally explains to the elder, it's like, I want this bounty lifted because I just want to live on so I can keep having the memory of the love that I had with my wife. I don't want to lose that. I want to continue to earn my wife's love as a good man. I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but I think that's the general gist of what he was saying to the elder. And the elder, he decides to level with John Wick. He tells him, okay, tell you what I'm gonna do. I'll lift the bounty on you, but here's what you have to do. You have to go, you have to kill Ian McShane as a sign of your loyalty, and you will also continue to work on as a hitman. He's like, you can live on to retain your wife's memory, but you're still gonna do what you are meant to do. You're still gonna go around and you're gonna kill people for this organization. And John Wick, knowing he doesn't have any other options left, he's like, alright, I'll do it. So he goes back to the States, he meets with Ian McShane. And I will say, some of my favorite moments in this movie were the moments of dialogue between Ian McShane and John Wick, because the two, they have that kind of, I don't know if I should really say chemistry together. Well, they did. But what I really appreciate is just the dialogue they have between one another. Like, it's not that they're really friends or comrades or anything like that, but they have that mutual respect for one another. At this point, John Wick is ready to kill Ian McShane, but Ian McShane tells John Wick, it's like, listen, you have 2 options here right now. You can kill me right now and you will live on as a killer, or you can pass on that and you'll probably die, but you will die as a man who you became when you married your wife. Isn't that the man you wanted to be this whole time? John Wick begins to hear that out, and he's like, you know what, that does sound more honorable, so he refuses to kill Ian McShane. Ian McShane also tells the adjudicator he's not giving up his position of power. So as a result of that, the hotel that Ian McShane runs is now basically deconstructed. It is no longer Continental Grounds, which means killing, all these crimes, they can all happen here. It's no longer sacred ground. So this lady, she sends in her group of assassins to go after John Wick that she's recruited. And the difference is, these guys, they're a little more difficult to deal with. I did really like the way this final conflict was kind of set up. It kind of reminded me of like a video game boss. Like, John Wick starts on one layer, and these assassins, they're not that difficult for him to beat. You know, he breaks a little bit of a sweat, but nothing too bad. He kills both of them. And then he goes to the second floor of this hotel room. He takes on 2 more assassins. These ones are a little bit tougher to deal with. They're skilled with knives. They know how to use the mirrors in this hotel room to kind of toy with John Wick, but it's still John Wick. He eventually does beat them. Then he takes on the leader of these assassins, which, oh my god! I screwed up. Let's go back a little bit. Before all this happened, before this video game level boss showdown goes down with John Wick, what happens is John Wick and the clerk who ran the hotel, who was taking care of his dog in the last movie, they decide, alright, with all these people coming at us, we gotta get a lot of guns. And then they'll basically have this SWAT team of assassins coming after them, and this action scene right here, this is awesome. John Wick is loading these shotguns, he's blowing all these guys to smithereens, even the clerk's getting in on this action, and you find out he's actually a capable assassin himself. That was really cool to see, because the whole time he's just been the man behind the desk, you don't really expect much out of him. No, this guy can hold his own in a fight. I want to talk about that scene because that scene was really cool. But anyways, getting back to John Wick taking on the leader of the assassins. This is a really intense throwdown. It's something that I appreciate in John Wick Chapter 2, because in John Wick Chapter 2, he had that one guy that was able to hold a candle against John Wick. This guy was able to go toe-to-toe with him. The same applies with this assassin right here. This guy can actually put up a fight against John Wick, and again, you see John Wick's vulnerability, which is important. This guy also did bring a lot of humor into this movie, though, because what I like seeing is this guy is also apparently a big fan of John Wick, because, you know, he's heard all the legends about him, all the stories about him. You know, he's a big fan of Baba Yaga. So after that fight, John Wick goes and meets again with Ian McShane, only at this point, he has now discovered that Ian McShane has made a deal with the arbitrator that he can retain his power if, you know, Ian McShane does away with John Wick himself. So, you know, he shoots John Wick. John Wick falls 1,000,000,000 stories off the building, like collides against another building. You think he's fallen to his death. At this point, the adjudicator, she points out to Ian McShane, it's like, something's wrong. John Wick's body's missing. And soon enough, you see John Wick and his dog being brought into the sewer that's being run by Lawrence Fishburne. He explains to John Wick, yeah, I'm pissed off at the high table, and down here, I'm running this underworld that's meant to exact revenge on the high table. John Wick, you want a part of this? And Keanu Reeves delivers his perfect John Wick dialogue, just looks at him and goes, yeah. Just the way Keanu delivers some of the lines and some of these, you know, moments of dialogue in all three of these movies, you're just like, only Keanu could get away with saying it and it not be cringe. That's where the movie ends, but it's also got some questions I'm asking, like, how did Lawrence Fishburne survive being cut everywhere? And more importantly, how did John Wick survive that fall? I guess you have to chalk that one up to a convenience and the magic of Hollywood, but I don't know, I couldn't ignore that. So all in all, John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum, it was a great action movie. This is by far and away Keanu Reeves' best role since The Matrix. It's so great to see him back in the forefront of a really good action franchise. Well, granted, The Matrix wasn't really a good action franchise. It was a great first movie. After that, not so much. This John Wick franchise, though, yes. The action in this movie is just awesome. The knife fights, the gun fights, everything that goes on in this movie is just a ride. I love exploring more on this world of organization, more on the rules, more on what John Wick can find, more on what he can do for himself. We get more of a look into the high table and the people who are running this whole thing. Ian McShane was great in this movie. I love seeing the moments between him and John Wick. Lawrence Fishburne, he's not in the movie very much, but when he was in it, he was good in this movie. The adjudicator, I don't know the name of the person who played her, but she was great. Halle Berry and her dogs were fucking awesome in this movie. One of my gripes though is I wish we got to see more of her. The movie does have its conveniences, but I guess every action movie does. And now the big question remains, where does this movie rank among the John Wick movies? There are people who believe John Wick is better than John Wick Chapter 2. There are people who believe John Wick Chapter 2 is better than John Wick. For me, I would say Chapter 3 was better than Chapter 2, but still not quite as good as Chapter 1. But in the end, this was a great third addition into this John Wick franchise. It's clearly setting up for a fourth one. I'm excited to see a fourth one. I am wondering though just how much more they can really take this franchise to. But you know, if the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th movie of this franchise could be anything like this one and the past two were, I'm all for it. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe. I will see you all next time.